don't know if there's any thoughts or questions from the audience that you'd like to ask Ray and Vi. Yes.
I'm Emma from Restorative Bristol. Thank you. I was actually quite moved by that. I don't know if anybody else was. I think you two should, you're like beacons really. I am actually quite moved. I think you're amazing, and I think you're absolutely right that these people, particularly children, 15 years old, have all got their own issues, and you forget about that when they do something wrong. And fair play to you for forgiving them. I think that we should all take a leaf out of your book, definitely, and you're doing fantastic work. I have a question. What do you think was the most telling thing at each of the meetings that you've had with the young boys?
The most telling thing?
Yeah, like the thing that moved you the most about the meetings with those young boys.
The honesty. I asked them to both a question each. I said, the first one I said, how did you feel coming here? Anyway, to be quite honest with you, Ray, so I thought I was Jack the Lad walking down the road. But when I got to that door and put my hand on the door, I shook like a leaf, he said, and my hand was like a tap. The second boy, Stephen, he said, I felt like I was going to see the hangman. And he was just about to turn and walk back up the stairs, and then Martin came out and said, are you ready? And he came in the room then. It's the honesty, wasn't it?
The honesty.
And the answer to the questions.
And the answers to the questions.
Because it was done right.
Yeah.
To look them in the eye and know they're telling the truth.
Yeah.
That's right. I did a Restorative Justice panel, actually. I was a victim. Nothing as serious as that, but I was, a 14-year-old tried to kill me in a car, and I was actually sat across from the 11-year-old passenger and his mum, and just sitting there with his mum, who didn't seem to really care one bit, was probably the most informative thing. They wouldn't have had to say anything. So I just all power to you for doing that, bearing in mind your loss. So thank you for coming today.
Okay. Can I just say they're not nothing to gain by this. They're not in prison. They're not going to get any parole or nothing. They had nothing to gain. They both volunteered to come.
I think it's more about peace within themselves. Yes, we are all human, and it eventually will eat you away if you don't deal with it. So
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, here in the middle.
It's still chilly because we haven't warmed up yet.
It's a bit chilly.
Thanks, just to echo that as well. I mean, we were talking before you came about how we can encourage people that this is a way forward, that this is a viable option. The sort of 15 minutes of you sharing is the best way we're ever going to get of showing people that it's a viable option. It says so much more than any statistics or anything that the rest of us can come up with. So I just really want to encourage you to keep, I know you already are, I'm sure, but to keep sharing because it has such an incredible impact.
We're helping probation train.
That's fantastic.
How marvellous is that?
Thank you. I guess
that letter would help you.
I will read that, thank you. Yeah.
From Stephen would help you.
And, I mean, for me, one question with some of the people I work with and try to encourage it much more smaller cases, encourage towards mediation. There's this thing of, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to give them the opportunity to be forgiven. You know, this bit inside that says, I want to make sure that they suffer. Yeah. And I guess I was asking, what was it in you in the early stages that moved you from that place of kind of justified hatred, of feeling there are monsters, to being willing to begin to engage? Was there things that kind of moved you along there that helped you begin to want to talk?
When we were in the courtroom, I looked at Vi and I said, you know, there's no witness here. 4 parents lost their kids. And I jerked it round, didn't it?
Do you know, I looked across the court and, do you know, I knew he was right. Everyone loses. Yes, they'll get their boys back physically one day, unlike us. But it will never be the same, will it? And that kind of set me off on the path of, you know, I don't think you have to forgive to do restorative justice, but I do think it happens during it. But for me, I'd already chosen to, because forgiveness is a choice, not how I feel. If it's how I feel, I'm never going to get there, to be honest, because I go to his grave, Ray does too, and we get angry.
And another thing that happened, there was another restorative thing happened, restorative justice thing, without anybody helping us. When we were found guilty of murder, we was rushed up to the canteen in the Old Bailey because one of the farmers kicked off. While up there, another farmer came up, and he held out his hands like that and went, "I'm sorry." I went over and we hugged each other. 2 weeks later in the court, I met him again, and he said to me, "I followed you up deliberately for you to hit me. And I bet if I put a right hand on him, I smacked him on, he would have just kept his hands down." My daughter saw that and it changed her attitude straight away. It changed her from an angry girl to supporting what we do now, didn't it?
Yeah, and we're going to get an opportunity to meet him again with the third boy.
Yeah.
And find out how he's done and how he's doing. So that's good, isn't it?
Thanks.
It was that father that helped change things, wasn't it?
He helped too, yeah.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a question that they'd like to ask? Yes.
Quick, you've got a card to put on.
Last question, I think, and then we'll have to move on, unfortunately. Yeah, but you can carry on
Yeah,
afterwards.
Tony Yates over for Somerset Probation. I just wonder whether you were working in isolation or whether there are other people like yourselves doing similar work. I mean, from my perspective, I've seen people on, I've worked in probation about 10 years, worked in the voluntary sector for 20 years, and I've worked with a lot of people. Some of the nicest people I've met, I have to say, are people who have turned their lives around having committed some pretty horrendous crimes. I've seen people, and unfortunately we lose sight of them. They finish their orders and licences and they go their own way into their lives, and we don't kind of capitalise on them. I just wonder what your thoughts were around kind of working with those people, because we've got victims on one end and victims like yourself who have gone through this restorative process and advocating it. But we've also got people on the other end, that are perfect. And that is not my thing. So I just wonder what your thoughts were on that in terms of where this could go in terms of.
There are many people out there like us.
Yeah.
We meet them all the time who are wanting to tell the world this works and are doing. It ranges from a lady who met her rapist, amazing lady, and said, "I took back the power he stole from me the day I met him," to a family like us whose husband wanted to do it but the mother didn't, and may go down that route at some point, I don't know, but found it so liberating for yourself. And yeah, there are many, and I think you guys need to capitalise on us. You need to come to us, find us, and let us help you, because we really, I know Ray does, don't you?
Just come and see us. Don't be scared. We can only say yes or no, can't we?
We want to help you encourage other victims. 9
times out of 10, a victim will say, "I don't know," but if you sit down and explain it to them like we do with Sycamore Tree, we explain to them, you get a voice for the first time. I'll have a go at that. And then go in and do it. Maybe get in touch with Prison Fellowship, say we've got any victims who'd be interested in coming out with us. I don't know any other groups. Through Unity, they deal with murder victims, we're part of that.
There are a few murder victims in there who are getting interested in
the
this.
Misen Foundation, they got a lot of victims of crime in them. No, you can maybe email them and get in touch with them. There's hundreds of victims out there who want to do it.
But then if it helps you, well, one of the questions a probation officer asked me a few weeks ago was, if I came to you very early on when you were raging and angry, and I walked into your home and put this piece of paper on the table and said, "Would you consider?" What would you think? And I said, "I probably would have thrown you out of the house." But if you'd have left it there, I would have picked it up, just like I picked up the homicide pack to look for numbers. I would have done it eventually. But if you don't come and tell me, I will never know. So please come.
You got BBC Radio supporting today. We've done an interview with them before we came here this morning, would you believe? Get in touch with them, go on and say that we're looking for volunteers.
And use us for that.
They use you.
Whatever,
use them.
yeah. You've got to get the word out.
That is fantastic, and a great question and a great answer, because so many useful ideas for people in the room, and a real encouragement to contact people and get them involved. So, Ray and Vi, thank you so much for making the trip.